This is a special Waupaca City Council meeting.
Alright, about noon, so we'll get started. I gotta use this. If you guys have questions, feel free to chime in anytime. Just holler out loud, or if you'd like to step up to the mic, because it's being recorded, we can post this and keep it as a record. So you should be at the Lake Street Public Information Meeting. If you're in the wrong classroom, no, I'm just kidding. Thanks for everyone for coming. I'm Justin Behrens. I'm the guy that sent you the letter, the Public Works Director here for the city. We got a number of things to go through for Lake Street. The biggest thing is it's construction work. It needs to be done. It's going to be a bother. It's going to be loud. But when it's all done, you'll have a nice road, something you can drive on without bumping all over the place. There's going to be quite a bit to it. And basically, the way the project is broken up right now, I can flip the page for you. It's basically, the whole project is two sections. From Main to 5th is what we call a mill and pave. So we're just taking a big grinding machine. It's going to come on the road. It's going to shave off about 2 inches of the asphalt. And then the paving machine will come behind it, sometime later, and repave it, that nice black roadway that you're used to seeing. In this section on Jefferson Street, we're going to add a hydrant. So there's going to be a little bit of underground work there. And then on Division Street, in the corner there's a hydrant there that we'll be replacing as well. And then along the way, maybe a couple spots we're replacing some sidewalk. Not a whole lot of concrete work there. The one corner, I can point here, one corner of Berlin Street and Lake Street, right there, we got that puddle. That's going to be fixed. And a lot of these crosswalks are going to be fixed as well. Some of them are just not up to code anymore. They're too steep. They're just not right. So we're going to improve that, especially the crosswalk going, I guess, Lake Street this way, north and south. Right now it kind of goes at an angle more towards the one corner of 5th Street. We're going to change that and send that straight across. The other side of Lake Street, so basically from 5th all the way down to 8th, or School Street, is more of a full reconstruction. We're going to be ripping up the road completely. We're going to be replacing it from the bottom up. Now we're going to try and save as much curb and gutter as we can, just to save costs. And again, sidewalk's going to be replaced, and we're also replacing the water main there. And that's another big thing of this project, is the water main underneath the ground there is from like the 1930s. It's too small. It's a 4-inch, so the DNR wants us to upgrade those when we can. And we also believe that there might be some lead components included with that water main. So that opens up a whole nother can of worms, especially with the old Flint, Michigan issue that came up. That's on the front of everybody's radar on the DNR and the EPA. So with the work, we're going to basically shut down almost all of Lake Street, with the exception of County E, or Berlin to State. We're going to keep that open. So people, that's a county road. We're going to try and keep that open for through traffic. The remaining of it, though, basically shut down from Main Street to State Street should be what we call a soft closure, which is going to keep the through traffic out, or we're going to try it anyways. But we allow access to the property owners, you guys. The contractors, they're well aware of this sort of thing. They work with this all the time, where they know they need to do their work, but they also need to keep it so it's not just a total mess where regular cars can't drive through. And also, in case of emergency, an ambulance or a fire happens, the condition of the road needs to be good enough that these services can get through as well. So the road will be shut down to through traffic, but you guys should be able to get to and from without an issue. So you may actually kind of like it, because the traffic will be knocked down to basically you guys or people who shouldn't be there. And then, well, the detour in general, you can kind of see is the big black line. So people who aren't from this area will probably follow that. People who know the area might cut through on Randall or some other area, but for the most part, just routing around Lake Street from Main, Badger, and School. So I mentioned the mill and pave. This is a picture from Demers Street this last summer. We did that same thing where we milled off 2 inches and then put the asphalt back on. Demers only took, I think, 2 days, but that was 1 block. Lake Street's a little bit different story. It's a much longer road, so I'm expecting a couple months for the entire project to be done. But for the section from Maine to Berlin, it'll be very similar to this. You'll probably have a couple days of a really big, noisy machine, and then some days later you'll have the paving machine coming back and doing the same thing and making it black. So at the end, you'll have something that looks like this. This is Morton Street from last year. Very similar kind of work that we're going to see done there. And again, access will be maintained to all the residents at all times. So moving on to the water side of the project. So again, from 5th Street up to School Street, we're replacing that water main. So underneath the roadway, at the bottom there, you can see water main upgrade. Like I said, it's a 4-inch water main. That is not the standard anymore. We're going to replace that with an 8-inch water main. So that gives us proper fire flows for the hydrants, and then also should provide you guys with better service. Your pressure shouldn't change, but it's there. It's more a reliable service. So if there's a fire down the street, you guys can still get water. And again, it's just bringing it up to code. We're replacing some of the hydrants along the way as well, and this is just all on the city utility dollar. And then we're looking to replace the service lines. Now this is the location where we are suspecting lead to be underneath the ground here. The service line connects basically your home to the water main. So it drills tapped into the water main, goes into your house, you drink your water. Underneath the roadway, what we're thinking we might have is what we call lead goosenecks. Now it's the part that connects right to the main, and then it's only about a 2 to 3 foot section of metal, mostly lead, and then it goes to the shutoff, and that's the part where if you go outside, you can see your little shutoffs. That's it. Is that much, and that's what we're going to replace. Or well, if it's there, obviously we're going to replace. If it's not there, we're still going to replace it. Now the problem is, we don't know for sure if it's there or not. Okay, we're suspecting it's there just because of the age, and it was a common thing back in the 30s and 40s. These were very common. During the wars, I mean, lead was available, unlike some of the other metals that were around. And lead's very flexible, so it was very good product for pipe layers because they can tap it in the main and then they can bend it however they want and get it to go in the direction. So we got it there. We're thinking, and now with the whole Flint, Michigan thing, EPA guidelines and the DNR, they're saying if you know it's there, you think it's there, and you're going to do any kind of work, you need to replace the whole service line from the main up to the house. That is their new guideline. That's what they're wanting to see. So we had this project kind of going at the time, and now these guidelines have come out. So now we're bringing property owners, you guys here, to encourage you to get on board with this. The part of the service line that's from the right-of-way up to your house cannot be covered by the utility. Now, this is not something that we're putting our nose up in the air because we don't want to pay for it. It's actually a rule. Public Service Commission does not allow public utilities to pay for private expenses. It's something that's come up. A lot of municipalities are dealing with this. So we can't pay for your service. If you live over here. If you live over here, you don't have to worry about it. You live basically west of Berlin, you don't have to worry about it. That main is much newer. We don't believe anything is there. East is the only only spot where we would. But the gold lining of this, or the silver lining of this all, is that the DNR is getting money from the EPA to help fund this, these replacements. So I'm working right now to try and secure that money from the DNR. I've got an application in saying we're replacing up to 20 lead service lines, and we'll need money to pay for this. So the whole process of this, I will not know if we've secured that funding until the project is over. I know it's not very good timing, but that's just the way the process works with the DNR. I submitted for this thing quite a long time ago. I won't know till after June is when they give determination of what communities get what. Now I'm thinking we should be fine, but I cannot guarantee it. So the property owners who are looking to have this done, I'll need to get some kind of agreement in place with them and basically sign off that we're allowed to go onto your property, replace this, and what we'll have to do is the city will have to eat the cost, we'll pay the contractor, but then we'll have to reassess or special assess the tax bill. So it'll go on your tax bill as a special assessment, which with the cost we're looking at here, about $3,000, you'll have upwards of 5 years to pay that off. Now when the DNR money, if and when it comes in, then that money will just be credited back or taken off your tax roll. The city will get it. So that's how the process works for that. So that picture there is just showing the potential areas where lead could be. If your house is, if you're one of the first houses on Lake Street, you could have lead inside of your house as well. Now, it was very common in solders and fixtures, and they were common up until about the early 80s. It wasn't until, I think it was 82 or 83 where the basically United States government said, that's it, no lead in anything. From about in the underground public side, the big mains, like I said, 40s, 30s and 40s were pretty prevalent. After that, they really kind of died off. So that's pretty much the project in a nutshell. A couple other things is, if you haven't signed in, I would really like you to, and put your information. That way I can, if something happens with the schedule, I can keep you up to date. Right now, we do not have a contractor on board. We do not have a schedule. The bids are due back April 10th. So we won't know until after April 10th what we're looking at for an actual dollar amount and for an actual schedule. But we're expecting the project to start probably early May and get done, before the end of June. That's what we're expecting. And we have in our contract that it has to be done before the triathlon. Now, the inconvenience, getting back to that, you'll have to kind of live with the construction a little bit. I don't know when your garbage is picked up. Most of you guys, if you can tell me, you can try and work that out to let the garbage trucks in on a certain day. With the water being shut off, we'll give you proper notification if you're one of the people who are getting the water work done. We'll give you a 24-hour notice of when your water's being shut off. And typically how it works is you might lose water for a few hours. And for this project, we're thinking that the contractor will elect to set up a temporary line. So they'll shut off the main. Basically, everybody will lose water, and then we'll set up a temporary line, and everybody will get it back until they can work through and tie them into the houses themselves. Same thing for driveways. If you cutting up some pavement in your driveway, we'll give you a 2-day, typically a 2-day notice before that. And we'll let you know, how long until you can drive back over it again. I think pretty much covered it all, unless you guys have questions.
Well, the city did some sidewalk repair a few years ago. They ground down some of the edges between pieces of concrete.
Mm-hmm.
And now we've received a estimate for replacing certain sections of sidewalk. And someone must have done an evaluation of what passed and what did not pass. Do you know
Yes.
what they were looking for there?
Well, okay, so the grinding is part of just our maintenance. We go around and we see spots that lip up or whatever settle. We'll try and do that first. It's just cheaper, it's easier, it's quicker. But after a while, we have to do sidewalk replacement. That's just a program where we have about $15,000 every year, and we go around and we replace sidewalk. I guess the criteria is just up to the street superintendent. He's the guy, Roger Hansen, many of you probably know him, goes around and identifies which chunks should be replaced and what shouldn't. Last year we did it on 8th Street. This year we're doing it on Lake Street just because we wanted to tie in with the roadway project and try and get everything together. But I mean, as far as standards, it just depends on the condition. If there's a lot of major cracks, if it's heaved, if there's these lips that can't be corrected with the grinding, then we'll call for this to replace. So
There's an instance where you have heavy traffic going back and forth across the sidewalk, which was an entrance to like a parking lot. I'm thinking that that's why there might be some crackage in there. Do you know if the contractor will be encouraged to put a thicker pad in those areas?
yes, in driveways, the sidewalk concrete should be 7 inches thick. On a standard slab, just for pedestrians, we're looking at 5 inches. So, yes, if we replace it, if it's a driveway area, traffic area for vehicles, we will make it thicker.
Is there a special assessment for curb and gutter or sidewalk in front of the property that is being replaced?
Not for curb and gutter. Curb and gutter is 100% city. The sidewalk is a 50-50 split between city residents and the city itself.
Okay.
So if we replace, just say $500 worth of concrete, $250 will be your responsibility. We take the other $250.
Okay, so that would show up on the tax bill as well?
Yes, you have an option. You can pay it off directly if you'd like. If it's under $500, you have, I believe, 1 year to pay it off. If it's under $100, you pretty much have to pay for it with cash or check. And if it's over $500, then it's a 5-year on your tax, special assessment on your tax.
What are the foreseeable work hours going to be from the morning to the evening? How long a day do you think they're going to be working on?
Well, most road crews usually work pretty long hours during the day, so I would suspect something like 7 in the morning to about 5 at night. Probably a typical work day for them. And a lot of them will want to get out there even earlier yet. We'll have to try our best to, I guess, keep them not so loud. Because they always have these big heavy machines. If they get out there early, they try and keep the noise down. Unless you guys don't have an issue with the noise, then they'll probably elect to start at 6 a.m.
And will the roads be more available during the off work hours? Like there won't have as many barricades and traffic can go through a little bit easier, or how's that going?
Actually, during the off work hours, the barricades might be a little tighter to get through because nobody will be around to kind of police it. Now, when the crews are there, they can leave them a little bit open to let themselves in and out, or people like you in and out, because they kind of self-police it. They know. I mean, it's amazing how quickly they find out who actually lives there and who doesn't. And I've seen a lot of crews just kind of help people out, like move a barricade for them, let them in. They know somebody's not supposed to be there. They'll move a machine in the way so they can't come through. So I guess to answer your question, it'll probably be a little bit more difficult to get through when nobody's around, just because we're trying to keep the through traffic away.
Any weekend work?
Probably not. If anything, a Saturday. I would imagine, you know, if they're hard on work or they have a lot of work to do in other areas, they'll work a Saturday. But for the most part, most big contracting crews work Monday through Friday, and try to regulate the overtime a little bit.
That lateral that runs from your main to our house, if it runs under the sidewalk and under the, you know, the personal sidewalk running up by the house,
Mhm.
or the driveway, now, will you get an estimate out to us what the total cost will replace the parts of the driveway or the sidewalk? And will we get an estimate before this job starts?
Yes. Any sidewalk replacement with the water laterals will be covered by the city. That's what we've always done.
But on your property?
Yes.
No, I mean, not out on the.
Oh,
sidewalk.
on your property?
Out on my property, yeah.
Yes, we'll get you that price. So like I said, the bids should be received by the contractors on April 10th, and then we'll have the prices for all the items of work on the job. We'll be able to come back to you guys and say, this is what it'll take, you know, to replace a service line on your property.
I was wondering if,
Yeah.
you know, you have something out for us to know before you start.
Yeah.
You had mentioned about changing the crosswalk from Berlin to Fifth Street as opposed to Iron. Where will that exactly, how, will that require curb and gutter on the west side of Lake Street then for the property I own there? Or?
Yes. But you don't have to, you don't have to pay for any curb and gutter. That's
Okay.
straight on
Because
us.
it'll be coming straight across then from Berlin Street, right straight across?
Yes, the crosswalks, and they're shown on these plans if you want to look, and I know they're plans. So I enjoy looking at them. Sure, some of you guys may not. The crosswalk across Berlin, here I'll show you, will be improved. Across Berlin is going to be improved there, and then across Lake going straight north will be improved. And then on 5th Street, the same thing, straight across 5th Street. So those three right there will all be improved. We'll get rid of that diagonal, and
make the other one
the slope
straight.
of them should be a little more gentle than what they are now as well.
Okay.
As a homeowner, have to give approval to doing the service line beyond, you know, onto the property? We have to give our own approval, whether you do it or not do it, or how's that gonna work?
Yes, I probably should talk about that a little more. So the service lines on the private side, so we're talking the right-of-way up to the house, I'll need to get that property owner's permission two ways. Basically I have a form that says, yes, you want to get it done, here's all my information, or no, I don't want it to be done, but I understand the risk of not getting it done. So I'll need, there's a form, and then there's also a easement agreement form, which is a temporary thing which just allows us onto your property during the construction work. So the easement takes in effect once the project starts. Once the project's over, we can't come back onto your land again. So we'll need basically a couple forms. I'll need, I guess, or the city will need these forms and before we can do the work. So.
Do we do a sign off on, does the property looks as good as it could? I mean, is this property finished, everything on our side, so that, you know, we can sign that off before we really complete the project? Or
Well, I guess that's just kind of an understanding between us that the city has decided to, I guess, do all the landscaping work because we don't trust contractors in this case to do a good job because we know what will happen if grass isn't growing by the end of the year. We'll get a lot of complaints. So the plan is to hire a contractor to do the underground work. They'll get out of there, and then our city crews will come in, put topsoil down, seed it, and, you know, restore it that way. Just because we want to have that responsibility because we think we can do a better job. And if something isn't right, then we're right there. We can take care of it right away without trying to get into a fight with the contractors of coming back, replacing it, or not.
it'll include the finish of like a sidewalk, if you have to cut through a sidewalk to do a service line? It's already on
That should be covered with the service line replacement, yes. Now, we're not landscapers, so if you have some nice bushes there, I can't guarantee that we'll be able to replace them or save them or anything, but we can do topsoil and grass and little sidewalk work, yes.
Any possibilities of it, cutting through like a sewer line or something doing this project?
That is a possibility. I mean, but that's a possibility on any job. There's precautions that we take, every contractor takes, so that that doesn't happen. We get our locates, we hand dig if we have to, and if something does get hit, whoever hits it, well, is usually the one responsible to replace it or fix it. So if that does happen, it's not like we're just going to bury it and just say sorry. You know, we'll have to fix it. Especially if it's our fault, then we'll fix it and we'll pay for it.
You do a pretty thorough ground sensing type of work before you get started.
Yeah, yeah.
Locate equipment and that sort of.
Yep, locators come in and will locate the lines. Now, private side is a little bit sticky of an area because most locators will not go on to the private side. However, our utility guys have a pretty good idea of where everything is. So we'll be able to locate the water and the sewer lines on the private side before anything happens.
Are you planning that you're going to have to excavate all these laterals, or are some you're going to be able to do without excavating the ground? You know,
Well, I guess that depends. Oh, sorry for cutting you off.
No, go ahead.
It depends on the contractor. I would assume the typical way would be to excavate in the roadway and then excavate right next to the house where the water line comes in, and basically find those two spots and basically cut them off and then connect a new pipe, and then they'd be able to bore it underground to the house, find it on near the house, and then stub it through. That's what I would expect now, but it's all dependent on the contractor and what they prefer to do. So they may cut open everything and do it that way, just an open trench. Yes.
About 30, 35 years ago when they tore up Lake Street and put the storm sewer and the sewer thing from King to the water plant, you didn't do anything with any of those water mains or any of that?
They did a
We
little.
don't have water.
You
Our
got
house-
yours off
Ours is off School Street, but we sure got torn up in the back. And I'm just wondering, that was major. I mean, this is going to be major, and that was major all the way up to Main Street and so on. And the driveways were not always accessible. I mean, sometimes you had to find another place to park on a different street, so you're going to have to sometimes maybe do overnight parking, find yourself a side street. I'm just saying, that was, and
Yes, that can happen.
yeah, so it isn't all going to be
Figure out if
perfect.
they did the water lines
They
then.
didn't, he said they didn't. They didn't do anything with water, they only did that big, huge pipe, right? But they tore everything up.
Okay.
That was a sewer project, and between the King Sanitary
Yep.
and the storm sewer, which takes rainwater
Right.
and gets rid of it. So, but the water line was not touched at that
Didn't do
time.
anything with that. Okay.
About your question about access, yes, I mean, it can, you might not be able to get to your driveway, but that was 30 years ago, and things have changed a little bit where I guess contractors are a little more sensitive to that, and so it's kind of a more typical in the, I guess, in the construction world where they understand that they'll do work in their work zone and don't go through it, but when they're done, they will cover it back up and it's got to be accessible again afterwards. When they leave the job site, I mean, it should be accessible to you guys or to emergency vehicles, all that. I mean, there's
There
just...
was a really bad fire on Lake Street during that time, and these guys did get through, with fire trucks. driving on the edge of a kind of cliff thing. But yeah, so they were able to.
Yes.
And
There's
it
been a
was-
lot of examples
Yep.
like that that have prompted contractors to be a little more friendly to, I guess, the property owners nearby of letting them in and out and that sort of thing. Because there's been quite a few stories like that where, emergency personnel couldn't get through and something happened, so. Yes, sir.
The access from the road to the parking lot for the property that I have is gravel, apron is going into, and it would be a good thing if that was concrete. Who would I work with? Would I work with Roger on that or yourself?
Either one. I believe, what's your address?
523 South Main, the big building on the corner.
South Main? Well, come talk to me afterwards then.
But your
We'll see.
address is
It's from
Street.
Lake Street,
It's
yeah.
from Lake Street.
Is that the big apartment
Yes.
building? Okay.
Do you know if our water is affected on that?
Which is your property again?
409, corner of Lake and Fifth by Berlin Street.
You are not.
There's a hydrant right by us.
Yes, you do not
That is
have-
not?
You are actually on the water main that's not being replaced.
Talking about sidewalks being replaced, when will we know that? If ours have to be done or not? Or is that out already? Or
Yeah, that's been published. So if you haven't gotten a notice,
we didn't, so, okay, thank you.
you should be fine, I'm thinking. I don't see your name on the list.
Okay,
Yes, sir.
I'm pretty sure if I redo the water line from this sidewalk to my house, a large tree is gonna have to be taken down.
Okay.
Would that be at my cost?
No. That'll be part of the city's. Well, I guess, what side is the tree on?
It's in my front yard.
It's in your front yard. What's your address?
I-15 East Street.
I'm guessing off the top of my head that that's going to be on the city. But that'll depend a lot on the contractor and how they perform their work. Like, I think you had that question of how they'll do it. If they bore it, it probably will save the tree. If they trench it, then the tree will have to go. But again, that cost will probably be covered by the city. I'll have to look into that one though.
For 11 years ago, I had to replace the sewage line.
Yeah.
And that went pretty much underneath that tree. But the tree was really young then, so we were able to pick it up and move it. But that was
Are you in the
11
corner of Fifth Street? You're.
Lake and Sixth,
What's your address again?
515.
Okay. Let me look into that one.
The contractor could decide to bore some and excavate others. Right?
Yes,
That
that's
wouldn't
true.
It is an ash tree, so they might want to take it down anyway.
That's true.
It'd be nice to know where the water line comes in, I mean, to your property, you know, and if there's any way, they should be some way to detect that.
Yeah, well, we know where the shutoffs are, and if we can get in your house, we can see where they come through
Yeah, I mean,
the foundation,
You can see where it comes up there.
and
You
then
don't know where,
draw the line.
where it wants to leave your lateral.
Well, yeah, it's a best guess. It's not 100% accurate where we know we don't have tracer wire on that or anything,
I'm
but
sure I got a great big maple tree out there too, whether it comes under there, or if it comes under the sidewalk and
Mhm.
my sidewalk and my driveway. I thought there was a way that you could detect it.
well, most of the utilities have tracer wire on it. So yeah, they're able to hook up a machine and then be able to find out where it is. Now, once we go to the private side, we don't usually put that on there because technically it's not our line, it's yours. So we usually don't do that. Well, most municipalities don't do that at all.
water line normally follow the sewer line?
They're typically pretty close. In this case on Lake Street, they're usually within a couple feet, is what we know of them from the records that we do have. Show them being right next to each other. So usually you find one, you find the other one.
Most of these water lines probably go into the basement of the houses, correct?
Yes.
They're pretty deep.
Yes.
So how does that connection going to be made? Through into the foundation? Handle that?
Well, the contractor will have to get inside your house, so this will all have to be coordinated. But on the outside, they can dig down and find where it goes into your foundation, and be able to string it through that way. So, I mean, once they find where it goes through your foundation, then that's how they do it. They'll pull the old line out, put the new line in, and then connect it to where, like right where your meter is. So.
They'll have to contact us at some point.
Yeah, well, that's
Advance notice so they can get in.
absolutely, and that's why I was hoping everybody writes their name, you know, in a way to get a hold of you on the sheet, because then we have that opportunity to give you guys a heads up for whatever happens. Like, you know, expect something, you know, access be restricted on this time, this date, or we need to get in your house, or we might be cutting your tree down, that sort of thing.
Because, you know, that's why I was wondering, because see, mine comes right up through the floor, or through the cement floor.
Ooh.
So, I mean, it ain't like it comes through the wall. So, it'd be nice to know that, but this way, you don't know, maybe it runs under the house, hell, I don't know. You never know what they did years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's,
Well, in an issue like that, what could happen is they'll just cut that pipe off and cap it, and then run a new line.
Did leave
Out-
the old line up?
Leave the old one there. For the most part, these old lines will probably just sit there. They'll cut them off and they'll just leave them in the ground, because it's cheaper, easier, quicker that way just to leave them. And they'll just run a new line and stub in that new line into your meter. So going straight down, they'll just cut that, cap that, bore a hole through your foundation and out.
What type of material is in that new line?
The new line will most likely be like a high-density plastic. That's what they're almost all using now. It's flexible, it's cheap, it is strong, so it holds up. So it's what they use these days. So who knows? 50 years from now, we might be thinking, what in the heck were we thinking back then? But for now, that's what they're using.
How do you thaw them out when they freeze?
How do you thaw them out when they freeze? It's a good question. Well, you don't use open flame, that's for sure.
Well, in the wintertime, they freeze.
Yep,
You know?
yep. You can use, there's a couple things you can do. They say you can use a blow dryer or a vacuum cleaner. I think that's
underground,
pretty.
though.
Oh, under the ground. Well, we have steamers. We have things that we can cover. It all depends on the situation. If we dig it up and find that it's frozen, we can cover it up. We can use like the steaming system that it just warms it up gradually, and then it breaks loose without affecting the plastic. Now this plastic conduit is stronger than you think. It's similar to what you would see for electrical conduit, but thicker, and it can withstand the elements a little bit stronger than that. It's got a better freezing point and boiling point, so it should hold up better. But I don't know, have you ever had issues with freezing on your line before?
No.
No, okay.
But you know, years ago, they used to put welders on the end, almost.
Mm-hmm. Well, you wouldn't do that with these.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. SOL.
A few years back, there was that pretty serious long freezing spell.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and everybody was told to trickle their water a little bit. So, if that could happen again.
Well, if we get another hard freeze like that, we'll have to issue a trickle order. So, I don't know, if you've never had freezing issues in the past, you're probably not going to have them again. This line will pretty much be in the same spot as it was before. You know, and you're kind of in a spot in town where you do have pretty high flows, so I mean, we got that water circulating through there, and it will keep things from freezing up.
Will the pipe diameter be about the same? Is it like a 3/4 inch
I believe we spec'd out 1 inch for everyone. So a little bit better. I mean, it really doesn't make much of a difference. The water line will be a little bit bigger. Your meter should be the same. Is that your questioning if the meter was going to change?
No, not the meter,
Okay.
just I'm trying to think of what size line feeds the house right now. Is it 1 inch or 3/4 or it'll be about the same?
Yeah, it's going to be about the same. So who here does live over in this yellow area? Okay. Well, you get water off of School Street, so you two guys would be possibly interested in replacing your line. So, I probably should. I don't know if I mentioned this, but you have the option. If you decide not to, there's a couple of things that have to happen. We will have to test your water twice, and we'll have to test it before the work starts, and then again after the work is over. And we're testing it for lead and copper. That's the DNR lead and copper rule. So we'll test it beforehand and we'll test it afterwards. Now, if you have elevated levels on the second test, your line will have to be replaced anyways because it'll fall underneath the DNR statute within that rule. So we test for lead and copper throughout the city every year anyways, and I don't know when the last time we actually had an elevated level. Well, except for a copper line. We had a high copper test 2 years ago, and that's because we took the test like a week after someone put in a brand new copper line. But as far as an elevated lead level in the city, we haven't had one for a long, long time. So that will be the process if you decide not to, but if the concentration of lead exceeds the DNR limit, that line's got to be replaced anyways. So, and I know it's kind of a crummy deal of, well, are you forcing me to do this? Well, you're not forced into doing it. However, it's just strongly encouraged, just with the whole events and issues that have happened recently with lead. And some of the recent studies have shown, the partial replacements can actually, increase levels of lead in your drinking water. So you're kind of at risk if you don't do it. However, our system, we think, is pretty good. We don't know for sure if lead is even there. We have really good water quality to begin with, so we're thinking, you should be safe no matter what. However, this is their guideline, and we'd be ignorant just to kind of ignore it. So we have to try and encourage you guys to do the same thing. And you don't have to agree today. If you want to wait, certainly I understand that, and we can get back in touch after we get the bids back from the contractors.
When you go into the underground is really when you're going to know what kind of pipe is there anyway.
Yes.
On the surface level.
Yep.
So you really can't make a decision anyway until that is exposed,
Well,
right?
yes and no. Now, the thing is, with the DNR, they've understand that a lot of the records are not the best. And, we're no exception to it. I mean, we think we have pretty good records of all of our utilities, but when you're looking at stuff that's from the 20s and 30s, we can't say for sure if that lead is there or not. So the DNR is just saying, well, if you think it's there, you can qualify for the program. If you dig it up and it's not there, you still get the money no matter what. That's how the program works. So if we get awarded the money through the program, we dig up these lines and there actually ends up being no lead there, we still get the money for the replacement. Pay for your side of the replacement, the private side. DNR doesn't pay for the public utility side.
But at that point, you don't really have to replace them then, if that's the case. You get the money, but they don't know.
Well,
Sure
we're not going to do that.
I mean, whether there's lead or not there, I guess you're going to replace them anyway.
Well, we're replacing our side.
Right, but I mean,
And-
the resident side.
Well, that depends on the property owners. If you guys agree that you want to jump on board and take part of this and get your part of the line replaced, then, then we'll go on your property and we'll fix it or replace it. If you guys say no, we won't come onto your property and do this, However, we will need to test your water, like I said, twice, before and after. So, if
What's
it's,
the best case scenario? If you get the DNR money, does it cover the entire cost?
It
or
does.
just a portion?
nope, it will cover the entire cost of the private side. So basically, where the right-of-way is up to the house, it will cover that. So we get these bids back from the contractors. There's a line item there that we have for just the private side. So basically, the right-of-way up to the house. So whatever that dollar amount is, that's what we'll get reimbursed from the DNR, or awarded from the DNR, however you want to think of it. And that's all that will be assessed to the tax roll, is just that amount only. Everything on the public side will be taken care of by the city.
Paid by the DNR, then that assessment comes off our property tax because it was covered.
Yes,
We won't see it that.
that's true. And just the issue of this is just the timing. We have this project that was underway. The DNR program came up, and like I said, I couldn't just turn a blind eye to it. So put in for it, and I won't know if we've secured the fundings till it'll be July. And by then, the project will most likely be over. So we need to either agree to do it or not do it, before we have this money allocated to us. So it's a bit of a, you're taking a bit of a chance of saying, yes, do it, and then having to fit the bill at the end anyways. But we do the work, job's done, DNR says you qualify, we'll take that and credit back your tax roll. Easy, right?